Hello and welcome to Talking Points. I'm Dave Kelly, Director of Advanced Media Production at Cal State Long Beach. My guest today on Talking Points is Pilar Pinell. Pilar is the founder of an organization known as ELLAS. ELLAS is the Spanish pronunciation for the acronym ELLAS. That acronym stands for Embracing Latina Leadership Alliances. Pilar, thank you for joining us on Talking Points.
My pleasure.
Before we start talking about why you decided to create this program in 2003, let's talk about some of the specifics of the program ELLAS. Now, I know that you have mentored something like 280 young women in this program over the last 10 years, which is a pretty impressive statistic, actually. And we want to find out what it is that these young women have done over the past 10 years. These are all girls in the 7th grade through high school graduation. So tell us about that program.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, ELLAS is a curriculum-based program, and we do fall in line with what the A through G requirements are through the high school, public high school. And ELLAS brings to the high school a cohort of young women who are already in university or have graduated, and they accompany me to the various campuses. What we bring is workshops to the young women, and it starts with an introduction about what ELLAS is all about, that it is a program to lead you into leadership, academic success, and to help them to integrate into community volunteerism. All of these components combined are a part of the ELLAS curriculum, and once we have achieved a relationship with the high school, we take on young women. About 10 per high school is our max that the maximum we can take, and we will take them under our wing as part of the program. What the girls will benefit from, again, are annual workshops, an annual conference, field trips. We take them into the professional world so they get an exposure of careers they may not have known about, because there is a study showing that there's a tremendous lack of role models and just exposure for young Latina women. And
in regard to your connection with Cal State Long Beach, which is really important for this particular program that we're airing on Talking Points, talk about the community service learning aspect in conjunction with Cal State Long Beach.
Yes, it is a very important component of ELLAS program. Developing collaboratives, and in particular with higher education, is key to the success of our mission to lead young women into higher education. The specific relationship we have here at Cal State Long Beach is that there are particular departments that are involved in community service learning, and it allows our students to come to campus for an event or to engage in a project in which the graduate students are actually teaching or spearheading the particular project. And so that's a big give to us as a program and to the youth, and it creates an in-kind relationship that ELLAS really, without that kind of support, would be really struggling for that kind of an exposure.
Let's talk about the professional networking. What are the professional networking opportunities all about with ELLAS?
The professional networking that we do with the program gives the girls the exposure that we focus on for them to identify careers. As we mentioned, the girls in the program come from limited demographics in which there's a limited exposure. So asking the girls, on average, they have a mile to mile and a half radius of freedom within that community of environment. So ELLAS takes them on what we refer to virtual tours of what corporate America is like. And it gives them that opportunity to meet successful women culturally that they can connect to, aside from seeing women across all various cultures, but to see that they are running corporate America, that they are in media, that they are in law firms, in medical facilities, at administrative levels. It really gives them a higher exposure to begin early on setting the tone for setting themselves for higher expectation.
Well, I can certainly see why a young Latina woman would want to get involved in the ELLAS program, but there are also some rules and some code of conduct issues that they have to commit to in order to join this program. Let's talk about your code of conduct or code of ethics that is really important for this program.
Yes, ELLAS has a very specific set of mannerisms, code of conducts, as you refer, because I want the girls to understand that it's okay to change your environment. It's okay to let go of what you're comfortable with and to step into a new realm. A lot of the girls want to, maybe we have a professional event and they're not quite sure how to dress for a professional event. So through ELLAS, we're already teaching them that for particular events, there's a particular dress code. There's a dialogue code. We do not allow any what we refer to as bad language, profanity. Amongst the girls, there's a equal relationship of respect. Though girls are coming from different backgrounds, perhaps even within the Hispanic community, there's a cultural difference, that we all respect one another equally. And with that, again, how they are dressing, they cannot come in with sweatshirts or hoodies. They are not to come in with attire that is perhaps a little revealing. These are, and we teach them through the program how they're dressing for the occasion. To dress, again, for that success or for going on a field trip, how that is.
And what about the parents of these young women? What should the parents expect to occur if their daughters are participating in the ELLAS program?
They can be assured that their daughters are involved in a program that is a solid, meaningful program that is systemic, that we are involved in their daughters' lives for the sole purpose of helping her to develop her internal strength academically and to give her a broader vision of a potential that she can reach in her career.
Okay, and we can now start talking about why you personally got so involved in the ELLAS program as the founder. What was it that made you think about starting this program back in 2003?
Now that I have a time to look back at, I've been asked this question a number of times, and every time I tell the reason why, it seems I can dig even further back. I think I was born to do what I'm doing because there's a particular unique nature as to how I started the program. But I've always been a doer, helping to change something, to create a more positive cause from a very young age. So bringing it to current is that everything in my life has built up to this, never really knowing that this would be it, but it's really put me on the path of knowing that I have a leadership skill and people really lend themselves to what it is I am doing, and whether it's a project or asking for volunteerism. So with that, I was part of a group that got involved with community engagement, education levels, citizenship, amnesty, parents coming back to adult ed. And there was one common voice in all of these paths, and that is that every parent there, regardless of their educational level that they have completed, aspire that their child have a better opportunity being here in the United States, that they got a better education. And so I looked at my own life, and coming from a family of 10, 4 boys, 4 sisters, very different dynamics at that time. I wasn't encouraged to go beyond something a little more domesticated, whether it was the culinary, secretary, assistant to the dental assistant. So I just knew there was something more in me, and it took life and becoming a young divorcee with a 3-year-old son, that I went back for public administration through community college. And that community college door, it's that revolving door, because mind you, I'm on a campus where there's a lot of younger high school students that have just come out of high school, and here I am, a returning single parent. Quite different, the dynamics of that. So I realized that there's a lot of opportunities that as a Latina passed me or were not presented to me, and it could have been for a number of factors. So not to highlight on those personal factors, it did bring to the forefront that there is a need to provide role models, to involve Latinas, regardless of whatever challenge they may have in life or what their environment brings to them, to give them an exposure, a positive exposure, to elevate. I was fortunate that my background and my upbringing had a very elevated environment for me as it relates to socialness and finance. However, when I married and I left, it gave me a whole other type of life. I didn't marry a wealthy young man. I married an immigrant from Mexico, and so it changed. So I was able to merge all those experiences to say, I'm one of millions of young women, in particular Latina women, and I want to make sure that I can put something forward to the table. And that's how I started ELLAS, to bring all of the relationships that I've had over a lifetime of my career, from academic to corporate to education to community grassroots. I've taken the girls on civic engagement, grassroots campaigning, phone banking. They've gone to Sacramento. We were hoping to go to DC, but we didn't have enough fundraise for that. So this is a broad exposure, again, for them to know that there is more out there.
And we're running out of time for this segment, but I just want to add also that it's been quite a journey for you in terms of the accolades you've received over the last few years. And I know that you're the recipient of an award called WOW, which means Women of Worth, and this was part of George Herbert Walker Bush, George Bush the First, and his 1,000 Points of Light program, and you were honored as one of 10 out of 2 million applicants in this program. Tell us about that honor, if you would, but we're running out of time here.
Okay, yes, I was very honored to receive that call. I was in shock, actually, when I received that call. I had no idea I was 1 in 10 out of such a volume of applicants. That happened after the fact, but just the idea that I was being called on from L'Oreal, and then the connection of Points of Light. It's an award that is given to people who, through their leadership and through their volunteerism over a number of years in the community, are being identified as for the great work that they're doing.
We are going to take a break now, but we'll pick up that thought in a moment. And when we come back, we'll also be joined by 2 more guests, young women who were participants in the ELLAS program, and they will tell us about their experiences. Stay with us.
We have a job to do out here today.
To be a winning team, you have to work like a winning team.
My team depends on me.
And my team is 50,000 strong. Looks like a lot of work's going into this.
This is what it feels like to be part of a team.
A winning team.
The action team.
Are you ready? Action team! Action!
Get in on the action at actionteam.org. Are you in?
Training is about more than muscle. It's about inner strength. So I push myself. That's why I serve in the United States Coast Guard. I train with the best, a team that shares my drive and commitment. We collect intelligence, guard our shores against drug smugglers, and keep our waterways safe, because our nation expects more.
If you expect more, maybe you were born ready. Find out at gocoastguard.com.
Hello and welcome back to Talking Points for the second segment of our program on ELLAS. ELLAS, again, is the Spanish pronunciation for ELLAS, or Embracing Latina Leadership Alliances. My guest today is Pilar Pinell, but along with Pilar, we also have a couple of former participants in the ELLAS program. And we have with us on the far end, for me at least on the far end, it's Carolina Vallejo. And Carolina's family immigrated from Mexico to Long Beach in 1993. She attended Lakewood High School and then later went on to attend Dickinson College in Pennsylvania, graduated, and has been involved in a number of various service organizations, mostly involved with the Latino or Hispanic community. And also we have with us Brenda Garcia. Brenda Garcia is the oldest daughter in a family of 5. She also attended Lakewood High School, and she is soon to be a first-generation graduate of CSULB, and she also works at a local YMCA preschool program. We'll be talking to the both of you in just a moment, but before we start asking you some questions about your experiences with ELLAS, I want to first go back to Pilar and allow you to finish the anecdote you were telling us before the break about being selected as one of the Women of Worth. Again, that's 10 out of 2 million. I like those odds. Tell us more about that program and how you were selected.
It's a very humbling and a very honoring award to receive. It's based on the volunteership that a woman is giving back to her community, and it's through a nonprofit. I just happen to be the founder of my nonprofit, and it's my personal investment in the nonprofit. and I haven't taken salary for it to benefit the youth coming in the program, to provide them services. So I am considered volunteer, even though it is my nonprofit. So L'Oreal selects and they celebrate 10 women. They fly you up to New York and they cater to you at every aspect to make you feel very pampered and very special, which you are for this given award and for what you do in the community. And from that experience, it is very surreal. You're in an environment that you only see really in television. So to get that kind of a wonderful acknowledgement for the work done for ELLAS, for women, to move young women forward in their lives, was to me a very rewarding and a very humbling experience. From that particular award, 2 years later, I was then re-elected out of their 8 years of honorees to be 1 out of 80 to represent them in Miami, Florida, just this past month in October, to the People in Español Awards. That is another platform of awarding through the Hispanic community that brings Hispanic philanthropic women, women in media and in television, who take on a nonprofit in that particular region. And I was the presenter for that award on behalf of L'Oreal. The slogan of L'Oreal is, wow, woman of worth. But what that really means, it means that it's a woman who is given unconditionally of herself to her community and to a cause. And that the phrase, which is the slogan of L'Oreal, because I am worth it, is all a part of that. And they certainly treat you at that level.
All right, and I know that in the course of being involved in the ELLAS program, you ran into Brenda and Carolina, who are joining us today. How did you actually meet them, and how did you encourage them or interest them in joining the ELLAS program?
I met both of these wonderful young women while they were seniors at Lakewood High School. Again, ELLAS program visits high schools based on invitation basis from the principal. They heard about ELLAS, and this is how we got there. I was giving an open house welcome introduction to ELLAS, and the young women heard about it through their counselor, and they said, a Latino organization on campus, let's find out what they're all about. And they walked through the door, and I think it was a pretty aesthetic moment there, that they felt a slight connection but weren't sure. But the more they engaged in ELLAS, the more I think they felt a connection of not only the benefit for themselves, but an opportunity for them to engage. Because one thing I do, and girls have mentioned, it's not every day you're going to be sitting next to and working on projects with a president of an organization. And so by me being involved at that level with all the girls, they feel that sense of empowerment. So both have empowerment within themselves, they have leadership within themselves, and I felt blessed to have them aboard, and they're still a participant and supporter of ELLAS at a university level, and now as graduates, they're looking at ways to give back, and they have reached out to ELLAS to do exactly that.
And Brenda, tell us about what your experience was like in the ELLAS program.
Okay. For me, ELLAS gave me the motivation to really go after my goals and not to set myself, not to have low standards of myself. It really inspired me to do what I want, I guess, to pursue my dreams.
Brenda, what was your experience like participating in ELLAS in your senior year at Lakewood High School?
It was, for me, very motivating because I was able to see a lot of Latinas in influential positions, and I was also able to be more confident to be in like a professional atmosphere, and which was something I didn't do before or had never been exposed to before. So now I'm more comfortable being in those settings.
And so, other than meeting Pilar, you'd never had any sort of professional networking type of experiences prior to this, right?
Yes.
And how did that make you feel when you realized you could actually pull this off? You could actually interface with professional people.
It was really, I mean, for me it was really good because I had never done it before, and that exposure just made me more. It made me know that I had those skills within me. I just needed to be exposed to these different atmospheres.
Okay, and Carolina, tell us about your experience in ELLAS in your senior year at Lakewood High. What was it like for you?
Well, I was also really excited about meeting Pilar, knowing that she was the founder and she was coming to campus and helping us out and talking to us directly. So that was really impressive. It also helped me, as Brenda, being more confident in an atmosphere where often I wasn't really a part of. And it also gave me the courage to feel important and owning that importance and feeling that a Latina, I belong there. And so it really helped being part of an organization that made your Latinidad an asset to whatever place you were going to.
Very good. And I know that you went to Dickinson College, as we mentioned in the introduction, in Pennsylvania. And that's a long way from Long Beach and Lakewood. And so you had the confidence to go to Dickinson College. How did your experience in ELLAS prepare you to be even more confident when you arrived in Pennsylvania?
I had my family, my teachers, but I think having a person like Pilar rooting for you to succeed as a young woman holds you accountable to somebody else other than people that have all your life held you accountable. And meeting her, even our last year in high school, was really something that I really enjoyed and appreciated, because I knew even from far away, was rooting for me to succeed, and I knew that I could count on her, call her, email her, or anything the like.
So these are some pretty terrific networking opportunities and the ability to stay connected with you, Pilar. But as you mentioned, it's unusual for you to acquire new participants in the program as seniors in high school.
Yes, because the program really initiates at the 8th grade. So we have them throughout high school and then help them through at least 2 to 3 years of university. And where it connects at university is that we help them to learn the art of networking in a professional setting at a higher level than we did at high school. So definitely because, but I can't help it when I see young women like Carolina and Brenda, to give them an opportunity. Some will benefit from a year, others need that systemic push throughout. But it's, as you're hearing from them, it really made an impact and a difference in the choices they have made, or setting larger expectations in their career path for themselves, or even I know some of the girls have gone on to international internships in other countries. For coming from a population which your parents don't even want you to leave the city to go on to a university, they want you to stay local, live at home. I know that we are doing, and parents are catching on to the urgent need for their daughters to be the generation of young women who are going to not only be prepared, but are going to have that self-assuredness within themselves to reach for higher ground across all levels, whether it's government, whether it's, a magazine just came out of all of the women in government it's a Latina style magazine. And so through that, we see that portrait. I try to expand these portraits to the young women to say, this could be you. Everything is about, evolution, and this is going to be in your time. And in corporate America, the same. So I'm happy that I did. If I would have said no, we wouldn't be hearing this testimony today.
We're almost running out of time for this segment, unfortunately, but I know the mantra for ELLAS is the journey from good to greatness. And I want to ask Brenda and Carolina what your thought is about that mantra. What does going from good to greatness mean for you, Brenda?
For me, it's being on a path to always being a better version of yourself, and not stopping where you're comfortable, but really going. Maybe it might be like you're gonna have to be in an area where you're not really comfortable, but just going after
a higher goal.
Yeah, a higher goal.
Carolina, how about you? What does the journey from good to greatness mean to you?
Yeah, very similar. I think becoming a very well-rounded human being in all aspects, whether it's going and finding what your mission in life is, or maybe just giving back to people that have helped you along the way, is just a journey that is always evolving. And so I think that becoming that very well-rounded person that you're meant to be and that you've always wished for is, I think, a journey from good to greatness that is constantly.
And I'll give you the last word, Pilar. What does it mean, very quickly, the journey from good to greatness, since you created that phrase? What does it mean to you?
Well, I'd love to take ownership of the entire entitlement of the journey from good to greatness, but it was a collaborative of thought between my founding board, in particular Robert Quintero, who at the time was with Southern California Edison. And he kept drawing back to, I kept saying, but there's good within these youth. Everyone has a good intention. I don't think anyone was born to say, I'm going to be born to do bad. So he says, well then, how about they're on their journey, right? You're taking them on a journey, Pilar? I said, absolutely. For 4 years, they're going to be on this journey. He says, then we take them from good to greatness.
Very good. And we have run out of time, and I want to thank all three of you for being here today, especially you, Pilar, for creating the program ELLAS and the impact you've had. So continue to do that great work in the community. It's really making an important impact. And thank you for joining us on Talking Points. Join us again for another episode soon. Until then, I'm Dave Kelly. Have a nice day.